This hummingbird is the culmination of a week of painting hummingbirds. I've been on a quest to paint hummingbirds lighter, more airy, more whimsical, looser, more impressionistic, more organic, like they're moving and really light. I want my painting to look light and airy, and sometimes the best way to do that, I think, is with a really splashy, loose style. In fact, I've been very inspired by Dean Krauser's work. And so be sure to check him out. And I love his hummingbirds, how loose and airy and alive they look. And I really want to emulate that in my style. So in today's video, I'm going to share 5 techniques that I use that I think really helped me achieve this look. And this is from a reference from Skylar Ewing on Pexel. So thank you so much for Skylar Ewing for this wonderful reference photo. And by the way, one of the secrets to my success in getting this light, airy, fresh, watercolory, splatty look is to use the right paper, which is hot press paper. If you paint with this style on cold press, it's a lot harder to get this watery, light, airy, filmy look. And I really enjoy painting on hot press paper, but you do need to use more water. But the advantages of painting on hot press paper like this is that your colors will look a lot brighter, and 2, your edges of your paint marks will look a lot more crisp, and it just gives it that really fresh look. And the disadvantage to painting on hot press paper is that it doesn't blend as well. So for beginners, it can be a harder way to paint. But if you add a lot of water and splash around a lot, it can really make your splashes look even more splashy. And this painting that I'm going to share with you today is the culmination of all that. So I'm going to share with you my favorite 5 techniques I used that I think were most effective in getting the look of a light, airy, fresh, little precious hummingbird. So let's go ahead and get started. For technique number 1, we'll start out with the simplest way to paint watercolor, which is milk consistency paint on dry paper. There are about 9 pairings of watercolor paint consistency to paper moisture levels. Basically, there's tea, milk, and cream consistency paint painted on either glistening, buckling, or dry paper, which I did make a video about all those pairings and all the different effects each pairing gives, and I'll link that here. But here we'll do a simpler one, milk consistency on dry paper applied with about a size 4 round silver black velvet brush using Daniel Smith and Winsor Green Gold in varying mixes. Remember also, the color is much less important than value, so you don't need my exact color. Also, I use just the tip of my brush, and the goal is to create an impression of the feathers. Instead of painting every single feather exactly as it appears in the photo, at least that is if you want to paint with a much looser, more impressionistic style like I do. I just made sure to paint each stroke along the contour of the head so that my marks gave the hummer's head its 3D shape. Also note how the 2 inner lines are kind of lime green, while the outer lines of feathers are a grayer version with a little purple or maybe even a red mixed in to gray down the green. This juxtaposition actually creates an illusion when you put grays in your painting, making the more pure colors look even brighter and fresher. As I paint, I look closely at the reference, making sure the strokes I make are about the same length and shape and direction as the feather as in the reference. Now, if I painted this whole bird with this wet on dry technique, it would start to look very stiff very fast. So next, I'm going to show you a much looser way to get feather textures, but first, a word from my sponsor. If you would like to learn from me more in depth, you can join my Patreon. But first, what I would suggest you do is actually watch my free beginner bunny tutorial, and you can watch that by going to this link here. You will have to join my website as a member, but it's free and I will not spam you. I might send you yummy little watercolor tip morsels here and there, but that's about it. But so you can join my website and watch Beginner Bunny. And also I have another post here. If you go to my Patreon index, you can see all the tutorials I have available, but at the very beginning, you will see a note to my beginners, a note before you start. Before you join my Patreon, I would love it if you would read that so you kind of see where you're going to be going before you sign up, because I don't want you to sign up and then hate it. I want you to love it. I want you to love learning watercolor, and I want us to have a great time together. So don't join until you read that and you try Beginner Bunny, and then join if you like me. I hope you do, but it's okay if you don't. Not everyone can like all this. I mean, it's a lot. So anyway, all right, back to the tutorial. All right, let's jump into this next technique. And it starts off a little deceptively because it looks like I'm just painting with the usual wet on dry paper approach. But no, when my strokes are still damp, I give them a spritz to loosen them up. So I shield the painting I don't want to spray, and I take my latest favorite spray bottle by Tim Holtz, by the way, called his Distress Sprayer. This makes them look a lot softer, more organic, and then I add to the whole impression by further splashing paint, and you can also drop paint into the wet spots to darken them as needed. And also, I will put this line drawing up if you'd like to try it, and my line drawing will be at www.rachelstudio.com/line drawing. And I do change that web page every time I do a new video, so that's yet another really good reason to subscribe. Anyway, if things get too wet and puddly as you paint, you can lay a piece of toilet paper on top of your puddles to take off a layer of water off, and the paint stays behind because it's heavier than the water. This next technique is one I use to get soft, melty, dreamy edges. I've painted the brown tail with fairly thick paint, given it a few splats like I did earlier, and then I let the whole area half dry, but I still need to paint in that little green triangle shaped tail in the middle of those brown parts. So I wait a few beats to let the brown parts half dry and then paint in the green tail. And where the wet paint meets the half wet brown paint, they melt together a little, just enough so that the area doesn't look stiff and like that green triangle of feathers doesn't look stuck on. You can see the brown is melting just a tiny bit into the green so the colors stay in their place, but the edges also have a very interesting soft melting effect that looks really organic and dreamy. So for the next technique, I'm going to put in some background. This technique is called charging. I get the area behind the bird's head wet with clear, clean water, and then I drop in or charge in Winsor Violet. Wherever I paint clean water, that is where the purple paint will flow into. Also notice how I use my brush when I'm working up against different edges of the bird. The long, smooth beak needs a long, smooth edge with no rough bumps, so I use the heel of the brush on its side and pull in a long stroke to get a smooth edge. And where there are feathers, I use the tip of my brush to create more jagged marks. Remember, where there is a hard edge with a lot of contrast, like where I'm painting strong purple against white feathers, it's going to draw the viewer's eye, so it needs to have more attention to smaller details, like creating these soft, jagged feather edges, because the viewer's eye will be spending a lot more time in this area because it's the head area. And also I'm creating a lot of contrast in this area with the purple against the white and the green. And here's a little side tip. Why did I choose purple as a background color? Purple is across the color wheel from green. Not perfectly. Green's complement is red, but purple is right next to red. So it still provides a lot of vibration energy, a lot of vibration power when it's painted in the same painting as green. So the purple provides a lot of contrast to the green and makes the green feathers vibrate and look even more vibrant, alive, and really fresh than they would have if I would have made the background, say, a blue or a flat gray. I think even a purple gray would have been even more gorgeous maybe, and would probably make the greens look even brighter. All right, for tip number 5, make sure that your paper is perfectly dry. And you may have seen me do this before, but I love to pull a paint together, at least this style of painting, together using a black art pen, in this case, a Micron archival ink pen, also linked below. This can be considered part of the jewelry of the painting, and just like jewelry, you don't want too much or too little. Put in a few feather details, but not every single feather. Put in a few scribbled edges, but not every edge should be lined. I like to use the pen in the boundary where the bird is light and the background is light to give that area a little bit of definition. And also, the more gestural you can get your strokes, the better. I also sign with this pen very often, and it ties in really well when I've scribbled edges and then sign with the same pen. Thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial. Be sure to join me next week. I'll have another one ready for you. I usually live chat every morning. Next week, I am not going to be here, and I'm committed to bringing you a new video every Saturday at 8 a.m. And usually I am there to live chat too, so I'd love you to join me there so we can chit chat and bring your questions. I love to answer those. And until next time, go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody.